Welcome to the Connected Leaders Academy virtual conference designed to reshape your vision of transformation. As we navigate the evolving business landscape, our speakers will unveil innovative strategies to manage and initiate change. Prepare to adapt, innovate, and lead, ensuring your role as a catalyst in this transformative era.
Good morning and welcome to Rebooting Your Entrepreneurial DNA. Many of us fix every tech issue by simply turning our phone or computer off and on again. It's a universal cure. I tried this approach with my first startup. I just shut down the office at 6 p.m. and hoped that turning the lights back on in the morning would magically solve all our problems. But spoiler alert, it didn't. It turns out that people don't reboot as easily as phones or laptops. But that failure taught me a powerful lesson. Sometimes a strategic reboot is exactly what we need. And that's what I did, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. Because we all reach moments in our careers, our businesses, our personal lives where we feel stuck, uninspired, even failing. And the problem isn't that we're struggling, it's that we resist rebooting what we should, when we should. Reboots aren't about starting over, they're about adapting, evolving, moving forward with fresh perspective. So who am I? I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm Phil Masiello, and I've been an entrepreneur all of my life. I founded 10 businesses since I was 27 years old, but only 4 were successful. So don't think that that's a big number. My first business was a total disaster. I'll get to that story later on in the talk. Today, I'm an author, a startup coach, a marketer, and founder of Crunch Growth Revenue Acceleration Agency. This happens to be one of the 4 successes. My journey's been one of constant reinvention, adapting, and knowing when to hit reboot. So today, I want to share why entrepreneurship isn't just about starting, it's about rebooting. Whether you're facing a major setback, navigating a pivot, or simply seeking fresh momentum, successful leaders know that the power of the reboot button is transformative. It's the mindset that transforms frustration into innovation, stagnation into growth, and uncertainty into leadership opportunities. So, how do you recognize the need for a reboot? The entrepreneurial journey, trust me, it's full of ups and downs. The ups, they make us feel invincible. The downs, they make us question our very existence, why we started this thing. But what about these things aren't obviously bad, they're just stagnant. Sometimes, despite our hard work and some success, businesses hit a plateau. They all hit plateaus. It's unavoidable. Every business hits a plateau. So how do you spot those stagnation signals? Well, sales have stalled. They're not declining. They're just not growing. Customer needs are evolving faster than your business is adapting. Your industry's changing, new competitors, new technology, new trend, but your team feels uninspired, morale's dipping, engagement is low. Processes that once worked are now slowing you down. So the challenge is recognizing when we need a reboot before it's too late. It's the key to long-term success in entrepreneurship, in business, in solo entrepreneurship, is staying vigilant, adaptable, and unafraid to rethink our approach. So as a coach, as a mentor, I have a TV show that I host. I've worked with and interviewed over 300 entrepreneurs, and their stories all share common themes. They've questioned whether they're in the right business. They've faced moments of doubt and crisis. They've hit plateaus where their businesses just weren't growing. And every single one of them had to reboot at one point or another, either themselves or their businesses. So here's what I've learned from all of them. A failing business does not always mean a failed entrepreneur. Sometimes a reboot is an opportunity in disguise. So we're going to hit inevitable plateaus. Everybody does. I don't care whether you're a business. I don't care whether you're a solopreneur. I don't care if you're a coach. Everybody hits plateaus. So how do you push through? Every entrepreneur hits a wall. Every business hits roadblocks. Every growing business hits plateaus. Every industry, even industry giants, struggle. So those who learn to push through are the success stories. I'm going to give you an, an, a talk that Larry Ellison talks about. In the early 90s, Oracle was near bankruptcy. In fact, they were on the brink of collapse. They lost $36 million in 1 year. And it's not the Oracle of today. This is when Oracle was doing about 100 million, 200 million in sales. So 36 million was significant. Competitors like Sybase took market share. Companies' aggressive upfront sales strategy led to overstated earnings, forcing Oracle to restate earnings twice and settle class action lawsuits. So Larry Ellison called this an incredible business mistake. On top of all this, Ellison realized that the team that got him from 0 to 200 million could not get him to a billion. So he made the tough call to downsize, knowing that saving the company meant making hard decisions. So how did they recover? He rebooted. He laid off 400 people. He hired new talent, restructured leadership. He released Oracle 7, which at the time was a game-changing database. He adapted his business model and invested in innovation, navigated the shift to cloud computing because this whole world was changing. And that reboot saved the company. But it also taught Larry Ellison about the power of rebooting his thought. So the lesson here is that even the most successful companies, the most successful entrepreneurs, they face near-death moments. It's how leaders adapt, innovate, and evolve that defines their legacy. Even solopreneurs hit plateaus. Solo coaches, they outgrow their business model. They may need to pivot their services. They may need to rethink how they market. They may need to reboot themselves, reboot their thinking. So when do we reboot? When the old way isn't working anymore. And the best way, and what's the best way to do that? By analyzing the root causes of setbacks with brutal honesty. The key to successfully navigating pivots and shifts is being proactive and adaptable. First, it's critical to closely monitor trends inside and outside of your business and identify emerging needs that your business could potentially fulfill. Is the environment changing? Many businesses struggled during lockdown, but many others thrived. They looked at what was changing and they rebooted to meet those changes. And that took a lot because everybody thought that the world was ending. So it took a lot for people to take a step back and say, hey, there's opportunities here. Let me reboot my thought process and my approach. Next, take a hard look at your existing capabilities and resources. What strengths can you leverage to pivot in a new direction? And here's the important one. Is the team right to get you to the next level? This is always difficult because the team that got you as far as you are, you've built relationships with them, but they may not be able to get you to the next level. So you have to be honest with yourself and you have to be honest with the team. And finally, don't be afraid to test new ideas through small-scale experiments, gather feedback from customers, and validate your approach before trying to scale up again. To succeed as an entrepreneur, you need to cultivate a mindset of resilience, agility, and growth. Those are essential qualities for navigating the challenges and opportunities we face. Resilience is about bouncing back from adversity and maintaining a positive, optimistic outlook, even in the face of setbacks. Agility is the ability to adapt quickly to change, embracing flexibility and openness to new ways of thinking and doing. And a growth-oriented mindset is about continuously seeking improvement, learning from every experience, and seeing challenges and an opportunity to develop and expand capabilities. Developing those three core mindset attributes will empower you to thrive in an ever-changing landscape, turning obstacles into springboards for progress and success. So I want to share with you some real-life case studies of entrepreneurs who rebooted. First, I'm going to call this one the Pivot Master. He was a young entrepreneur, a guy named Phil DeMuro. Phil, he faced difficulty with his original business, but what came out of the wreckage was a new thriving business model. I met Phil and his partner about 10 years ago, and I was mentoring them with their startup. They sought me out. We talked, and they were building an app that solved a very unique and specific problem. The issue was that that problem they were trying to solve, it was very fractured and it was very complex with too many moving parts. Frankly, it had been tackled unsuccessfully many times before, and it would require far more financial resources than anyone would feel comfortable putting into a startup to be successful. And I will never, ever tell an entrepreneur that I think their idea is bad. That is never my place. All I can do is coach and mentor them to look at all the angles, all the variables, really analyze the market and what they're doing. I did use a lot of my contacts to get them in front of proposed partners that I thought maybe could help through some sort of a merger, create a different type of company, but we had no luck. People just weren't interested. Now, as entrepreneurs, these guys were working hard. They were doing exactly what you would expect entrepreneurs to do, working on their business by day. And at night, they were driving Ubers, they were delivering food, they were doing anything to keep the lights on and the business moving forward. Finally, they came to the conclusion that it wasn't going to work. Now, when that happens, you can be sad, you can be depressed, you can feel sorry for yourself, you can think about what you're going to do next. But these two overnight called me up, said, "You got to come in the morning." They told me, "Hey, we don't think this is going to work, but we don't think that our efforts over the last 4 years were wasted. We think we have something that's valuable, so we're going to pivot the company. We're going to reboot." I said, what are you going to do? He said, "Well, over the last 4 years, we really learned how to develop, manage, market, and analyze apps. And we think that's valuable." So they pivoted the business into one that helps build, market, manage apps. And they've been doing it now for about 6 years. And they've built a lifestyle business that enables them to travel wherever they want, whenever they want, because they can do their work from wherever they want. They've got a team that's spread out over the country. So for them, it's a great business. And now they're successful because that learning from that first failure, instead of essentially taking a step back and saying, "Oh, this is bad," they looked at it as an opportunity, rebooted, and now they've got a successful business. The next one I want to talk about is a reinvention expert, a guy named Mike Koenig. Some of you may have heard about him. You can Google him. He's a great guy. But Mike has consistently pushed boundaries and created fresh momentum. Mike's been out there for over 25 plus years, tremendous amount of change going on. Mike is a serial entrepreneur. He's an author. He's a speaker, known for his expertise in marketing and business growth strategies. And he's founded and sold multiple companies. Digital Cafe, which some of you may have heard of, one of the first interactive digital marketing agencies, Traffic Geyser, a content distribution platform. He's a best-selling author, and he's worked with high-profile clients, Tony Robbins, Paula Abdul, Richard Dreyfuss, Chet Holmes. He's also a cancer survivor, and he shared his journey in that realm to inspire others facing similar challenges. He has stayed relevant because Mike continues to reboot himself. Every time things change, every time the marketplace changes, and he's pretty much been a solopreneur for the bulk of his career. So he's continually adjusting to the latest technologies and trends and adapting those to how he feels he can best help and add value to people. So finally, I'm going to talk about this last one, and we're going to call this the comeback kid. And this is my story. I told you earlier that my first business was a disaster, and it was. It was a failure of leadership, a failure of process management. For 3 years, I worked my tail off, but hard work wasn't the issue, and hard work wasn't going to get me out of the mess I created. Finally, I gave up, which is not like me, but I just couldn't see any other way out. I sold off the assets and I took the money and I put myself into graduate school and I got an MBA in finance and marketing. I didn't do that because I thought that education was going to make me a better entrepreneur. Education was going to solve my problems. I did it because I needed a reboot. I needed to change the way I thought. I needed something different. And I felt that this was going to give me the time to talk with other people, get input, see how other people did things, and then get an understanding. But what was left of the money, I invested in a small company in Washington, D.C., and I went to work for them. There were only 2 stores. It was a retail company. There were only 2 stores. And it was here that I used my entrepreneurial drive to help grow that company to over 20 stores before we sold it. Here's where I learned about leadership and managing. And after we sold, I founded another business that became successful. And from there, I founded businesses in beauty, personal care, the shaving category, but also with those successes came many failures. Like I said, I founded 10 businesses, only four of them have been successful. I got myself involved in fashion. I had no business being in the fashion business. I thought because I founded a skincare line that was successful with a former supermodel who was in the fashion business that I could do it. I understood it. Well, that's not true. I didn't. And I should have learned this. This is a lesson from my first business that I got myself involved where I thought I was a little too cocky and I thought I knew it all. I also got myself in the nutraceutical business. And again, I had no knowledge of that business. It's a very complex business. There's a lot of regulations with that business. So, again, thankfully, they were learning experiences. Thankfully, they weren't tremendous, devastating failures, but they were failures nonetheless. But the one thing about me, I'm never afraid to try. I constantly reboot. I'm never afraid to pivot. And these case studies, hopefully, will showcase different strategies and approaches entrepreneurs can take to reboot and revitalize their businesses. Your entrepreneurial journey is all about growth and progress. Okay. So, how do you reboot your entrepreneurial DNA? I have a three-step strategy. This is how I do it because you want to be honest with yourself. Entrepreneurs have to have thick skin. I don't care who you are. You have to have thick skin. If you don't, get out of the game because it's all on you. You're the one with the idea. You're the one that's starting it. You're the one putting everything together. So when problems occur, you have to look at yourself a lot. So you have to identify what's not working. You have to ask yourself, what are the processes, the people, the strategies that are holding us back? What are the new opportunities that are emerging that we're not seeing? What habits or assumptions do you need to let go of? What decisions did I make that have gotten us here? And where can I go for honest feedback? It may be people who work with me. It may be people who invested with me. It may be a whole bunch of different things, but I need that honest feedback. So do you pivot or do you reinvent? Not every reboot means starting from scratch. Sometimes you already have the tools to succeed. You just need to use them differently. So you want to test before scaling. Instead of diving into a full-scale reboot, test small, experiment with a new approach, get customer feedback, iterate based on those results. And the final steps of your reboot, you have to do a self-audit. What needs improvement? Again, look at yourself and the decisions you've made that put you here. Be honest with yourself. Don't be afraid to get feedback. Embrace change. Don't fear. Don't fear the pivot. Don't fear the reboot. Sometimes the pivot leads to success. And take action. Experiment, test, adjust. So I'm going to repeat myself from something I said earlier about being an entrepreneur. Between my own success and failure, and from working with over 300 entrepreneurs, these are the keys to success as an entrepreneur. Success in entrepreneurship isn't just about having a great idea and a solid business plan. It's about cultivating the mindset that will carry you through every challenge and opportunity that comes your way. To thrive, you have to embody resilience, agility, and a relentless commitment to growth. Resilience isn't just about surviving adversity. It's about rising stronger each time you fall. It's about having an unwavering belief that every setback is a lesson, that every failure is a stepping stone, and that every challenge is an opportunity to grow. You have to have agility. It's the power to adapt quickly and decisively. The business landscape shifts in the blink of an eye, and those who resist change get left behind. True entrepreneurs embrace uncertainty. We live with uncertainty. We pivot with a purpose, and we welcome new ideas with open arms. You have to have a growth-oriented mindset. It's the fuel that keeps us moving forward. It's about seeing the unknown, not as something to fear, but as an invitation to learn, innovate, expand our potential. It's about asking, what can I learn from this? Instead of, why is this happening to me? So when we develop these three traits, resilience, agility, and a growth mindset, we don't just navigate the entrepreneurial journey, we define it. Obstacles become springboards, failures become fuel, challenges become the very foundation of our success. So I challenge you, embrace the mindset of a true entrepreneur. Step forward with confidence, adapt with purpose, grow without limits, because the future doesn't belong to those who wait, it belongs to those who dare to build it. I have one last story to share with you about myself that highlights what I just outlined and sometimes how we cannot even pay attention to our own information. So I had built the shaving brand. I had told you before, it was one of the 4 successes, and it was a hot market at the time. We kept getting offers to sell. John Scully was an investor. He used to be the CEO of Apple Computer. He was an investor and a board member, and we had gotten an offer to sell. He called me and he said, "You have to take this offer." And I was resisting because I was the entrepreneur. I had the vision to take this brand to even higher. But I had a board, I had shareholders, and so we sold. Now, it's very common, and I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs. It's very common when an entrepreneur sells a company that they get a little depressed because it's part of who they are. That startup became part of their psyche, became part of their identity. And after it was all done, I was a little depressed. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have enough time to plan for it. Everything happened so fast. I was lost. My poor dogs were going for 10 walks a day. I was moping. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was thinking about the products that I could sell because I kept saying to myself, well, I'm a consumer product marketer. That's what I do. And our partner in the shaving business was the second largest shaving company in the world. And I received a phone call from them and they said, "Phil, we like what you accomplished. We don't know anything about direct to consumer. We sell to retailers, supermarkets, club stores. So we need you to help us." So I said, okay. And I started helping them doing all these things. But in my mind, it was a project. And I sat down with my wife one day and she said, "So what are you doing?" And I explained to her what we were doing with this company. And I said, "But it's a project and I don't know what I'm going to do next." And she said, "It sounds like you have a business there." I said, "But what are you talking about? I'm a consumer marketer. I'm not a consultant. I'm doing this until I figure out what I want to do next." And I was taken aback. And my wife said, "No, you're a marketer. And what's the difference between marketing beauty and marketing razors and marketing processes? It's the same." So I thought about it and I realized what was next. And that was the foundation 11 years ago of Crunch Growth. And I would have missed it because I was not in the right mindset to see it. I was stuck in my head with selling products. And if my wife had not set me straight, told me to reboot, I would have let the opportunity pass me by. So your future awaits. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting. It's about evolving. It's about adapting and rebooting when necessary. So if you're facing stagnation or setbacks, don't see them as roadblocks. See them as signals, signs that you're being called to refine, reimagine, and rise. Rebooting isn't about going backwards. It's about leveling up, sharpening your vision, and stepping into the next stronger version of yourself. Every great success story is built on moments of reinvention. So the question isn't whether you should reboot. The question is, are you ready to take off? Thank you all for joining me today, and I look forward to your journey. Thank you.
Thank you for participating in today's enlightening session as we transition to our next expert. Remember that each strategy and insight is a step toward becoming a transformative leader in your field. Visit connectedleadersacademy.com to stay engaged and informed. The journey of change is ongoing. Let's move forward together.